Hey, what's up? Welcome to Trapping the Time. My name is Pablo, and today I'm going to review an already mythical watch. A piece that condenses quality, functionality, aesthetics, and good price in equal parts. And those characteristics that define it also make it be appreciated worldwide. It is the Casio Marlin Duro MDV-106. But before I begin this review, I would like to pay tribute to a very dear friend. Pascual is a helicopter pilot who spends his working life between Chile and Spain, putting out fires with his aircraft and risking his integrity for the benefit of all. For this work alone, he already deserves my admiration. But more than that, Pascual is a profound connoisseur not only of the watch that concerns us today, but in general of the Casio brand. Pascual, thank you very much for giving me a hand with the review of this watch that you know so well. Also thank you, of course, to Jose Antonio from Big Ben Theory, who was the one who gave me the watch. Thank you very much, dear friend. And now that the thanks are over, let's get down to business. I confess that I am a little impressed to have to expose more than this well-known piece, my opinions about a watch that must be one of the most reviewed on YouTube, if not the most, and of which there are so many unconditional followers around the world that, truth be told, it's a little scary, but here we go. First of all, a little history about the Marlin. The Sailfish, also known as Marlin, can weigh more than 800 kilos and measure more than 5 meters. It is, without a doubt, the most coveted fish among deep-sea sport fishermen, among whom it is known for its colossal strength and combativeness. For that is the symbol that Casio adopted in the 80s to differentiate a range of watches that were particularly resistant also to water. In fact, they are considered the precursors of the G-Shock. These early Casio Marlins had LCD screens and were available in resin and metal versions. And so we come to the year 2005, which is when the first Marlin with diver aesthetics were born. They become an immediate sales success, and this MDV-102D Super Illuminator paved the way for one of the most iconic dive watches, appreciated and sold worldwide, the Casio Marlin Duro MDV-106. A watch that billionaire Bill Gates elevated to the altars by setting it as an example in times of crisis. What I wonder is whether the watch already had fame before that episode, or it was the billionaire who skyrocketed its popularity. Anyway, this is now an almost anecdotal question, because unfortunately the Casio Marlin, as we know it, is discontinued. As in 2021, Casio's rights to the image of the Sailfish expired, and henceforth can no longer be used by the brand as a distinctive of their products. Although they continue to market the same watch with the MDV-107 designation, but sadly without that symbol that gave it worldwide recognition and admiration, the Marlin jumping over the 6 o'clock. And having briefly reviewed its history, let's go now with the review of this already mythical watch in its own right. In the hand it feels solid, heavy. It is a diver's tool watch, analog, with 3 hands and date. And while its design is inspired or is very similar to the Submariner, this watch has its own personality for several things. The first thing that defines it is simplicity. It is an honest watch, because it does not want to appear what it is not. It is a fully functional tool watch for what it was created for, which is to allow its immersion in water up to 200 meters deep or 20 bars. And yes, it is inspired by that model that everyone imitates, but it does it in its own way. For example, it does not carry Cyclops, that extra that I usually do not like in my watches. I prefer to see the day badly, which is what happens a little with this one. You cannot see it at first because you have to look for light and focus. But despite that, I appreciate that it does not carry that artifact on the crystal. Another thing that does not copy the model are the hands. Here there is no Mercedes, which so many of them have, but an arrow hand for the hour hand and a sword hand for the minute hand, both filled with lumen. The second hand is painted red from the middle to the tip, the only touch of color that breaks the monotony of the watch, which is all black and white. All hands have a prominent counterweight that glows in steely tones, as in the luminous painting. The dial is a black color that looks matte, but is not. It has a soft sun ray effect and reflects on both sides of the center at a small but quite appropriate angle. The markers are applied, aren't they? They are certainly not painted, but how little they protrude from the dial, the little volume they have, make you think that rather than applied they are stamped, or I do not know how to say it. But I do know that it is the part of the watch that is perceived to be of less quality. While recognizing Casio's mastery to take advantage of the resources it employs, to me these markers seem plastic, and that idea is reinforced by the luminous paint they carry that is of very poor quality. Forget about seeing in the dark anything other than the hands, which are not that they are not overloaded with lumen, but at least you can see a little, not like the markers. But having said that, that's it. No more problems. I do not find more, and that is not serious, because it corresponds to the price level of the watch. Or not. I wonder if it may be happening that, with the eruption of the Chinese and their cheap copies, but increasingly better quality, is changing the scale with which I measure, these watches. I mean, I understand that the Marlin is an epic watch for everything it offers for that price, but I wonder if the new market reality will not have surpassed this piece, which previously covered that niche, diver, effective, reliable, and cheap, almost without competition. Invicta, without going any further, has opened a huge gap, and then the Chinese brands have followed. Some may tell me that how can I compare Casio's reliability and quality control with the Chinese ones? With the Chinese? And I do not. It is clear to me that the Japanese are, at least for the moment, much more reliable, but I must also say that it is the only thing they are winning because, in quality of materials, they are giving them a beating. And to understand this, you only have to look at the lumen of the steel dive Captain Willard compared to this Marlin. I don't know if this image is a metaphor for what is happening in world watchmaking, where the Chinese come stomping very strong. And I don't need anyone to remind me that it has very little added value to shamelessly copy other people's models. But that's more or less the same thing that the Japanese were accused of when they broke into the market in the 70s with their quartz and cheap copies. For me, I hold in my hand the old, not because it is older, but because it is lagging behind, and the new, not because it innovates, but because it is. I don't know if it's what's coming or what's selling. I don't pretend to be a category with my opinion, but believe me, I only say what I think, making it clear that I am not an expert in horology, nor do I sell watches. Well, I have no other interest than to share with you my hobby, my passion for watches. And I do not detract any value to this great piece, it would only be missing. I do not compare it either because, although they belong to the same market niche, one is quartz and the other automatic, which tends to decant quite the buyer's options. What I'm talking about is the current market, and I suspect maybe I'm wrong, that steel dive, Parnis, Cadesen, etc. is taking a lot of sales away from Casio. In fact, I'd like to ask you folks on the channel, how many of you have bought the Marlin in its version without the fish on the dial? Why, in the last year, to put a date on it? I ask because we can know more or less the watches that Steel Dive has sold in our small community in this period. You can see it in Captain Willard's comments. I would like to compare this data to know if my impressions are accurate or not. If you would like to share it in the comments, I would appreciate it. And I continue with the review, talking about the dial that has the data at 3 o'clock, framed in a white line, painted. Below 12 o'clock we see the brand Casio, and above 6 o'clock, that Marlin fish that you will no longer see in the new versions. In addition to the water resist, 200 meters, which is the depth for which this watch is approved. Also take this information to say that, as well as in materials and appearance, many Chinese pass over this Casio. In terms of reliability, I would like to give me the peace of mind that gives me this. because Casio's quality control is legendary and its products eternal. Wow, if I were to use it for what it is designed for, diving, I would have no doubt about which one I would buy in that price range. On the Rayhout, also black or rather dark gray, the minute indexes are painted. The hours on the dial alternate circles with rectangles at 6 and 9 o'clock. At 12 o'clock they have the shape of an inverted pyramid. The bezel is fully functional, unidirectional, 120 clicks. Very sturdy, hard to move as it should be. Alternate 10 by 10 Arabic numeral posts. The 60 is the classic inverted triangle, filled with a lumen drop like that of the indexes. The case, all stainless steel, is brushed on the lugs and mirror polished on the sides. On the right, we see those appendages that protect the crown perfectly. This is screw down and its touch has nothing to do with my Casio edifice, which looks like a toy. It doesn't give you the feeling that a mechanical watch gives you, but it's not too bad. Well, I'm not crazy about it, but you know that my favorite watches are the manual ones, and there is a world between those crowns and this one. But wow, I'm not comparing them, I'm just talking about the feel of them, which is necessarily different. This one has two positions, and in one we can change the time and in the other the date. The crystal is mineral, and although it is completely smooth, protrudes slightly from the bezel. The lid, except for the ring where it has the notches to unscrew it, is brushed. In the center it bears a large Marlin, or should I say rather carried. I'm afraid so. Around are references to the caliber, which is a best-selling and reliable Miyota quartz, the 2115, offering an accuracy of ± 20 seconds per month. We also see that the watch is 100% stainless steel and is water-resistant to 20 bars. A curiosity, where you can tell that the watch was assembled without stopping much, is the orientation that has the cover, in this case is completely upside down. But as far as I know, this touches everyone in a different way. It is rare, but it has a little bit peculiar because it makes some Marlins different from others. I am not going to say anything about the strap, because this is not the original one, but the one that Jose Antonio put on it. As I like it and it fits me perfectly, that's where it has stayed. But I already said that it is not the one that comes with the watch originally, so no need for any comment. And coming to the end, I just need to give the measurements of the watch, which are these. It is 44 millimeters in diameter, 48 lug to lug, 12 millimeters high and weighs 92 grams. To summarize the review, which is now ending, I will say that I think it is a great watch, a great investment for those looking for reliability, functionality, and a great price. It is a mythical watch and is so in its own right. What I regret, what many of us regret, is that although Casio continues to produce it, it will no longer carry the symbol that distinguishes it and gives it its name among the community. It's silly because it's the same watch, I know, but the heart has reasons that reason cannot understand. And we horology fans know a lot about that. We are fetishists of the highest order. Well, I'm talking about me, but I think a little bit about everyone. And that's all for today. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like it, subscribe, turn on the bell, and participate in the comments. Thank you very much as always for being there, and if you want, see you in the next video. See you soon.